Okay, this is now the tarot process part 33. And it was going to be about what if we started paying attention to ourselves or doing what we tell ourselves to do. Because a lot of the time we have an idea or we think we should do this or we should try this, then we immediately censor our own selves. So I'd like to look at what if we stopped doing that. But that'll be the next one, because it's turning out to be more complicated than I thought. So this is a kind of filler. And I've got 2 points to make. One has to do with King Xerxes, the Persian king. And the second one is about the strength card. So the reason I want to mention Xerxes is because a long time ago, Xerxes and his army were conquering everybody everywhere in the Middle East and Asia Minor as well. I don't know where exactly, but anyway, I came across this story about him, which I think is really interesting because he was turning his attention towards Greece. He was going to invade Greece. And the Greeks wanted to know what they could do to stop him or to defeat him or to not lose to him. So they went to the oracle at Delphi, and this is the reason. This is a tarot channel, which is an oracle. So they asked the oracle at Delphi, whatever the question was, how do we stop Xerxes or how do we defend ourselves? And the answer came back, build a wooden wall. And so at first sight or first thought might be, that's really stupid, because Xerxes, all he needs to do is burn down the wall and then there's no protection. And maybe that's what you do or what you think when you turn a card and don't immediately know what it means. So you ask the question, you turn the card and you draw a blank. And it's a bit like the Greeks, their first thought was, we're not going to build a wooden wall because that's just not going to work. So at the same time, we have imagination and ideas, and you personally have imagination and experience and ideas. You know what works, what doesn't work, what you tried, what you didn't try. So what the Greeks did was they built a navy of wooden ships and used that navy to destroy Xerxes' supply chain to his army. So they used the wooden wall of ships to stop food and arms getting to the army, and Xerxes gave up. So at first, when you turn the card, or at first glance, the answer of the oracle didn't work, didn't make sense. It was kind of stupid. But by the Greeks, or by you applying imagination and thinking about it and figuring it out, and not assuming that the card is wrong, and so I've got to pick another card for clarification. I hate that. But anyway, you turn the card and you figure it out. You look at it and you maybe struggle with it, or you think about it and you come up with ideas, all the time thinking, okay, in what way does this card that I picked make sense as an answer to the question? And that's Xerxes. So I think we can apply the idea that you turn the card, it's up to you to use your imagination, not your intuition, where you suddenly, everything comes to you and you know everything about the answer, or you know names and dates and places, and you get this impression of some fellow called Bob who works in a brewery and you're going to meet him and blah, blah, blah. I think we should take our lead from the picture on the card and from the card itself. And then if we take our lead from it and apply our own imagination and understanding that we have, then we're going to give correct answers to people, and useful answers as well. Because it's one thing to be told, okay, you're going to meet Bob at 2:30, and you meet Bob at 2:30 next Friday, and it all happens, and Bob was wearing what you had predicted he would be wearing. So what? I mean, then what? How do you deal with Bob? What's it for? What's going to go well with Bob? What's going to go badly with Bob? That, I think, is more useful. for a questioner to know about how to handle the situation rather than to correctly predict that you're going to meet him at 2:30 next Friday. Okay, that was Xerxes. The second thing is to look at the strength card. And because this is the tarot process, I want to give you something up. Sorry, I was just checking the microphone there. Something about a process for getting to know cards or getting to figure out what they mean. So let's say Sergey, I'll get back to you one of these days. He asked about the strength card. It came up in a reading about a relationship. So I've been thinking about strength off and on. So let's say we get the strength card and we're going to do some study of the strength card. So we get our notebook or our sheets of paper or wherever we keep our notes. And maybe we begin with the title, it's strength. So you think, what's strength about? And maybe you think, okay, physical strength. So you think about how do you become physically strong? You exercise. So maybe the answer, what you would talk about with the questioner, again, it depends on the question, but maybe what you talk about is going to a gym or becoming physically fit. But then you think about how, as I mentioned, I think in the last video, if you're building muscle, how it works is you exercise the muscle, you create little tears in the muscle, and as the tears heal, the muscle gets bigger and stronger. Right? So there's a kind of process involved in developing strength. So maybe you've got the idea that when the strength card comes up, the person is meant to make a few or multiple little steps or take little actions that are maybe unpleasant or difficult or painful in some kind of a way, because as they heal from that pain or as time passes, they're going to get stronger. You know what I mean? So you're taking the idea of strength and a method of becoming strong, but you're translating it into a different kind of circumstance. So maybe it's how do I develop a better relationship with this particular person, and strength comes up and you think, okay, bodybuilding, muscles. Okay, so there's certain things you don't like about your partner. So what you do is you deal with each one of them individually and you go along with it. If he wants to go to a movie and you hate movies, go to a movie and do something that's a little bit painful. And you'll find that causes a change. And you then realize that maybe you were too hard on the other individual. So it's the same idea of doing small things, experiencing a bit of pain or a bit of suffering in some kind of a way. But as it heals, you get stronger and better and bigger. The other so what you do then is you've taken 5 minutes and you've come up with a good idea, you write it down, and then, as Vinny said, you forget about it and let it come back to you in its own time. Because if you take the idea of strength and then try to build a whole system or a whole range of answers on that one idea, it's going to become top heavy and it's going to fall over, right? So it just doesn't work. But if you come up with something that's fresh and new and interesting and write it down and then forget about it, but pay attention to what you notice, then it'll come back in its own time and you'll be able to add more to that particular type of meaning. So let's say you come up with strength and exercise and muscle and the rest of it, and you write it down, and then a couple of days later you're watching TV or you're looking through a magazine, and I don't know, there's a brand of painkiller called Tylenol. I think it's an aspirin. I don't know what you have in your own country where you've got over-the-counter medication, painkiller. So in North America, there's Tylenol, which, if you take a lot of it, it's dreadful for your liver. It destroys the liver. So if you're going to take Tylenol, take one a year. The rest of it, watch out. Anyway, so let's say you're looking in a magazine a couple of days later and you come across this ad for extra strength Tylenol. Strength. So you think, oh, okay, what is this telling me about the strength card? So it's extra strength seems like it's best, right? It's going to be good. It's going to be more effective. So with strength, do you need to add something extra to the effort that you're making or that you're going to make if the strength card comes up? But if the strength card is upside down, maybe it means it's too strong. You're trying too hard. You're taking too much of it. You can have too much of a good thing. And that can be what strength reverse represents. So maybe with the strength card, you then realize, okay, when strength comes up, you can have extra strength, Tylenol. So maybe you need to be aware of how much effort you're actually making and judge correctly the appropriate or the correct amount of effort that you put into the project, or time that you spend doing something, or time that you spend with a particular individual. Because maybe you're spending too much time with them and not enough time on your own for where you can get things done, for instance. And so you write that down in your notebook. You've added a little bit more, and then you forget about it again, and then see what else you notice. But the thing is, you're not trying to make it work or trying to come up with meanings. You're setting the ball rolling, and you're putting the idea out there and observing what comes back into your mind or into your orbit. And it's going to relate to, some of it will relate to the questions that you've been asking that you want answers to about what cards mean. Okay, I've finished. So thanks for watching. I'll be back in a few days with the thing about what if you stop censoring yourself. But anyway, I'll come back to that. I don't want to start now, otherwise this will go on forever. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, bye-bye.